Hey guys, it's Anthony back at you with another installment of Here in My Office. We're at Here in My Office 70, and we do have a few little updates. Last time I said I was waiting on Wells Fargo because I had a final interview with them like 12 days ago, something like that. And we're still waiting to hear from them. So the good news is I haven't gotten a rejection letter. And I don't know if good news is going to come by phone and bad news comes by email, but I've been obsessively checking my email, waiting to see if they get back to me. That's for the role in over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for Wells Fargo. It's like a audit manager with like three direct reports. Real good opportunity, and like I said, the pay is more than adequate. Being that with bonus it paid about 200. So that's kind of like the very high end of what I'm qualified for, and what I've seen in the last year and a half of salaries. Um, but the other day, a couple days ago, guy from Charles Schwab came back to me. So Schwab is still interested, and they're interested in interviewing me. And I have an interview in 2 days. Today's Wednesday, and no, today's Tuesday, and I have an interview on Thursday. So it's with like two people, and it's a video conference call, which kind of sucks because last time I tried the video conference call with them, I was able to get them up on video, and they were able to see me, but the audio didn't work, so I had to use my phone and hold my phone the whole time. So we're probably gonna have to do it that way again. And frankly, you know, not really sure what the format of the interview is. It's not structured like Wells Fargo, where they tell you they're going to ask you behavioral questions and all that. It's just another round with more people. So I guess I'll just go through my background again and answer any questions they might have about my background. Um, but again, I'm really getting sick and tired of all these interviews. But the good news is I do have all these interviews. It's not like I'm putting my resume out and not getting anything back. And as much as I say I'm sick of this, and I just want to wait for my lawsuit and don't want to be a landlord and don't want to deal with this corporate stuff anymore, I'm still applying to jobs all over the country. I don't go into the jobs I'm applying to because there's so many. It's like it would be and be kind of pointless, because if I'm not getting responses from them, it's not really a potential opportunity anyway. It's just what I'm applying to. But basically, I'm on Indeed.com every day, and I look for audit manager and senior audit manager roles around the country. And I'd say the only thing that is impeding me, the only thing that I don't have on my resume that I wish I did, is I wish I was a certified public accountant, because there's a lot of audit roles. I could work in public accounting if I had a CPA. And you may ask, well, why not go for my CPA now? Well, my bachelor's degree is in finance. So I had some exposure to accounting classes. I took some accounting, but not the kind of not the amount of accounting classes that an accounting major would take. So I think I'd have to go back to school and pick up those credit hours first before I was qualified to sit for the CPA exam. So I'm not, and I have a master's degree. I'm not really interested in going back to school. Um, Not just for the sole purpose of becoming a CPA, at least. And but anyway, most jobs don't require a CPA, but there are some that do, and that kind of disqualifies me, unfortunately. So I can't go and apply for those. But other than that, I have a lot of companies say they want a professional certification, and I have a certified internal auditor, CIA, and a lot of companies will say CIA or CPA or MBA. And since I have the CIA and the MBA, um, that puts me in a pretty good spot, with the exception of not having the CPA for those particular jobs that only want, public accounting experience, and or that are in public accounting typically that require a CPA. But I applied to Citigroup again here in Buffalo. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about what I'm applying to, but that's one that we've had good success with them in the past in getting interviews. Granted, they were down in Tampa because in Citi has their internal audit group in Tampa. So the jobs that are up here in Buffalo are not in internal audit, but they're still in risk management, and it's still something that I'm qualified for. So, it would just be, I'm going to say, it might even be better than getting the Wells Fargo job and going, even though it pays 200 grand, it might be easier on me to make a buck 20 or 100 or whatever the case may be and stay here in Buffalo and not have to move. Because if you didn't know, guys, the conditions of my lawsuit state that I get compensated for the money that has been lost so far. So the past year and a half of no income, that goes in. The money that I've lost and spent, and the cost of being unemployed. So all my savings that went down the drain, that gets reimbursed. But also a component is called front pay, which means, say I was making 140, which is what I was making, and I find a job that pays 100. They're gonna make me whole for that $40,000 shortfall. But the big question is how far into the future do they do that? I read somewhere, or it was just like a YouTube comment, somebody saying that he's an attorney and saw that maybe 5 years of front pay is the most he's seen. But still, that's, that adds up. That's 200 grand if you're talking about 40 grand for 5 years. So, that could be really helpful too. And, but like I've said in my past videos, my attorney is projecting to close up and settle the lawsuit in fall. So, we're coming into April. So maybe I have another 5-6 months left of waiting. And when you're unemployed and looking for jobs, these months go by fast. So, I mean, it'll be fall before I know it. And yeah, I really, really could use that money. So, that's what we're waiting for. But my primary focus, I mean, while I say my primary focus is Wells Fargo, just because the money is the best and it is an internal audit, it's the most, I think it's the best fit. And also they're focused on, they need people to do issue validation, MRA validation, which is when the regulators raise issues on your business. MRA validation, so when I say validate, just taking the issue and making sure the issue has been remediated and doing testing to see that. So the job entails a lot of that. And it also is focused a lot on third-party risk management, which is my key core competency. It was what I was considered a subject matter expert in when I worked at my old bank. I owned the TPRM audit process for the U.S., and I worked very closely with the TPRM folks at the bank. So I'll be doing more of that if I get the job. And also interesting enough is the Charles Schwab job. Charles Schwab job is a third-party risk management focused job. It's not audit. It's audit is considered the third line of defense in a business. It's the second line of defense. It's a little closer to the business, and it's in risk management. So, but it's third-party risk management, which is where I have the most comfort in, and I've done the most work in the past. So, it looks like a good fit. It looks like a potential offer if I can do well in this interview on Thursday. So that's what's going on. And lastly, I have another position for Wells Fargo that I'm earlier in the interview stages, and it's like enterprise testing senior associate. And I didn't get to talk to HR very much about this role. I just talked to like an administrative assistant who scheduled my interview, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow I interview with Wells Fargo on a different role for that enterprise testing senior associate, and it's not a manager role. So I don't know what the pay is. That's a question I'm going to have. What their salary range is, because if it's going to require relocation, and if it pays something like only like 80 grand or something, or 90 or something, I'm not going to be interested in it. So I think right off the bat, I'm gonna see if I can get that question answered before I get into the interviewing. But also too, all this interviewing, even if it's a job that I don't think I'm gonna necessarily do, it's still a potential of getting an offer on the table. And since I haven't had an offer on the table yet, I might change my tune. I might say, oh well, at least I'll get back into the workforce. But I'm not going to take a massive pay cut to go to this job. I'm going to expect it to be something in the neighborhood of what I used to make. So, find out tomorrow, I guess. So the interview tomorrow isn't until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's going to be it's a little bit of a long wait for that one. But that's what's happening. So yeah. So it's just kind of more of the same, guys. Just kind of in the trenches, in the process of doing this grind. Somebody commented on my last video. He said it's a grind, and yes, it is. Definitely. It's tiring. It's mentally taxing, and it can be very disappointing, which is what I've experienced for the most part. Unfortunately, is a lot of ups and downs. You get an interview, and you have an interview, and you think it went really well, and you think that you're all set and you're going to get an offer, and then you get rejected. And every time that happens, like every time I get rejected, it just makes me feel like less adequate for the next time around. I'm like, what is it that because basically I'm kind of saying the same thing on all of these interviews. And on the interview, at least, they give me good feedback. They say that I've had people say that it sounds really great, and they're really impressed with my resume and my background and the interview. And but then when it comes down to showing me the money, they're not doing that. So something's got to give, guys. So that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else I want to talk about. Oh, yeah, the coronavirus. We're still we didn't go out, and I'm making this video right now at like 10:30, 11 a.m. We usually go out, and if we're gonna do Instacart, we usually go out at like 8:30 in the morning when the supermarkets are quieter. And it's crazy in the supermarkets right now because like literally like every other person has a face mask on and gloves, and it just makes me think like I'm just playing with fire here, going out and doing this work. But I said that the batches, when you do a batch for Instacart, you can make as low as $5 and maybe as much as $50, $60, even 70 I've heard of. It all depends on the tip. You might have a really generous person and that says, oh, you're out in this coronavirus thing, we're going to give you a good tip. And I did what was it, like a $35 or $40 batch, and which is good to begin with. And it wasn't a ton of items, and I got it done in the store in probably half hour. And we went to deliver it, and they left me a $20 bill in an envelope taped to the door because they didn't want to open the door. They didn't want to be exposed. But that was a good tip. So that's an example of where I made $60 for like a half hour of shopping groceries. But they're not all like that. So it's not like you're going to get that repeat all day and you're going to be making all sorts of money. We usually start out the day. My wife will do a batch, and then I'll do a batch, and then she'll do another one. And usually by that time it's like 11 o'clock, 11:30, and we usually wrap up at that time. Rarely do I do 2 batches a day. I usually just do one. Um, so it's very little money, and like I've said before, the money just goes to like beer and Jewel. Um, you know, it's not even enough money to really make a dent in our uh, in our bills. We are current on the bills, if you're wondering. What we're not current on, of course, is the mortgage. We're way behind on the mortgage. I think it's been like a year since we've paid. So it's interesting that it takes this long for a foreclosure to go through. But this COVID-19 thing was a blessing because if you don't know, it put a stop to foreclosures in New York State. So I think it's like 90 days, but anything I'll take, any kind of delay, because that just allows me to get closer to my settlement, and at that point we'll get the money to give to the bank and get them off my back, and the settlement is enough that should be enough that I'll be able to tap into that cash to hold me over until I get employed and get an income. Um, or until I buy rental properties and get income from those to use to pay my mortgage and pay my bills. So that's a long-term idea of mine that I've talked about from time to time on these videos. It sounds like a good life. It does. So if any of you guys or you know anybody, or you yourself do real estate investing, leave something down in the comments and let me know how you're doing, because am I crazy? Is this a bad idea? Is this a stupid idea? In buying the homes cash, because like I said, my credit score has been battered, and of course that's another part of what we're suing for in the lawsuit. All the damage that's been done to my credit score, it's not irreparable, but it's going to take years to fix, and every day it seems it's probably getting worse, because I'm still not current on the mortgage. I'm still not paying. There's still things that I bought, that credit card debt and things that I just don't have the money to pay on. So that's why I'm thinking, if I'm buying rental properties, it's probably in my best interest not to leverage them and just buy them cash. And you save money that way too, because you're not paying any interest at all. But that's what's going on, guys. So I'll make another video. I might even make another video on Thursday or Friday. I usually like to let each video sit for a week or so, get some views on it. Like the last video now has like 90 views. If I get like 100 views on it, 150, that seems to be kind of the average. Looking at my dog. So since I will have had my call with Wells Fargo for the Enterprise Testing Associate, I'll get in a better idea of what that job entails and where it's located and how much it pays, and then let you guys know. And then I'll let you guys know how this whole Charles Schwab third-party risk management interview went. That's on Thursday. So I'm kind of repeating myself now, but I think that about wraps it up, guys. So if you like this video, why don't you give me a thumbs up? Consider subscribing if you're not already, and look forward to more fun and games in the world of job searching. So thanks, guys. Have a good day.